we were late to that discussion, and they ended up buying our biggest competitor for $40 million. And if we had been prepared,
that could have been you.
Yeah. And like we still got to last two in that whole discussion.
Right.
What's the name of the company? What was that company? You're like testing my knowledge back there.
Good. So what's up, guys? We are here today with the one, the only Evan Carmichael, modeling the masters. Evan, how are you?
I'm great, Dick. Thanks for having me, man. It's an honor and a pleasure.
No problem. The honor's all mine. So, Evan, today we're going to be interviewing you more on your pre-YouTube experience. I want to know more about entrepreneur, startup, selling a company, being purchased by another company at age 22, Evan. Is that cool with you?
Let's do it, man. Anywhere you want to go, I'm open.
Awesome. So I like to start out the video with something kind of serious to get my audience's mind in the right zone. So the question that some of my audience members came up with for you is Batman or Superman?
Oh, dude, I have Superman shorts on right now. But I feel like I'm more Batman.
You're more Batman? Me too, man.
I would go Batman. I feel like, so I have a closet full of these like Belief hoodies, and I feel like Batman when I put them on.
Sure.
But I have Superman shorts with the little crest on it. I'm going to go Batman, though. Batman.
Nice. I like it.
Final answer.
That is also my answer. So now I was going to kick you off the live stream if you were a Superman guy. So
wow, so much hate for Superman, dude.
Well, so we kind of addressed the YouTube, Evan. So let's talk about your BioTec Software Company that you got into when you were 19. Now I know that you joined two friends when you were in college, correct?
Yeah. First of all, dude, I love your mug. I just noticed that the D is the handle.
Thank you.
I saw the ick, and I just felt like the D was hidden on the side, but then I just know it. It's hard to see because there's a black background, and so you only see half of it. That's a sick mug, dude. I feel like I need a Evan mug now with the E handle or something.
With an E handle. Go for it.
I like it. Good. Okay. Yes. 19 to 20-year-old, 22-year-old Evan. I was in college, University of Toronto. I thought I wanted to be a banker, and I'm connected with these two people at my school, and they invited me to join their business. So they started it. It was having, they had some traction. I became an owner in the company. I thought I wanted to be a banker. I had big opportunities to go and work at banks and make, 80 to 100K starting salary. It's what I thought I wanted. And because of something that happened to me the previous summer, I decided I'm not going to live with regret. I'm going to take this opportunity. Even if it doesn't work, I'm okay with that. But I just want to know. I can deal with the failure. I can't deal with the not knowing and me thinking in 10 years, I wonder what would have happened if I just stuck with that business or said yes to it.
Right. So what was the business called?
So it's called Redisoft. It was a BioTec software company. And we sold to NASA and Johnson & Johnson. And at the very start, my role was to do the business development, the media. I had a lot of limiting beliefs at that point. I thought, I'm 19. Like, who's going to listen to me? What kind of reporter is going to want to talk to me? What kind of customer? These people are like 2 or 3 times my age. They have PhDs. Right. I'm selling biotech software. Science was my worst subject in school. I'm not a science guy. I'm not a programmer or coder. So I had all these hangups over, they're not going to talk to me. They're not going to think I can provide value. I sound too young on the phone, like all this stuff. And so I started off just doing everything by email. And then somebody wanted to talk to me, and I got super nervous. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go out and do it. And then I realized they don't actually care how old you are, and I think it's even less so now. What they care about is, can you help them? Can you provide value to them? I think there's even more respect for young people now than when I was getting started, because the older generation realizes we don't have all the answers. We don't know how to use this tech. Like these young kids, they know what they're doing. We should maybe listen to them. And so that was just my own hang up. That was my own hang up, feeling like I'm too young and I'm not going to be able to be taken seriously. And once I got over that, things started to change.
That's awesome. So why did they want to incorporate you into the company? What were the two doing that, or they couldn't do that you could do?
They wanted to do the programming. I think this is super common with a startup company. You don't have all the skills that you need. You know, I'm not a scientist and I'm not a programmer, and I couldn't create products. But I was in the business school at my university, and I had a business mind, and I enjoyed doing that kind of business development work. And they didn't want to do that. They wanted to be on the computer, and
they wanted to focus on the product, and then you focus on distribution and sales, and right.
100%. So that's where they were struggling. And so I came in and started forming partnerships and doing media and getting exposure and trying to help propel the company forward. So it was a good, like, we couldn't have existed without each other. They needed me as much as I needed them, right? And so it's something to think about for the young entrepreneurs listening, or you want to be an entrepreneur. Do you have all the skill sets you need, or maybe you need to partner up with somebody to help you get there?
Right. And I think not only do people need to start looking at that as what partners should I bring in to my company? You know what I mean? Like, I know that with your YouTube channel, for example, you brought in some editors to work for you, but I think on vice versa, the flip side, not everybody has to be the one starting the company and bringing other people in. There's obviously that side of the flip side of the coin, where you could be an entrepreneur, you could be the scientist looking for the entrepreneur to join an existing business like you. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't necessarily start that business, but you were the one that took it to the next level. And I think that's something that other people should be looking for opportunity too. Do you agree?
Yeah. So the company was started, I would say, a year to a year and a half before I joined. They built like the first prototype product. They had some of their friends using it, had a few customers using it.
What was the product?
It was same thing, BioTec Software, just an early stage version of it. They were researchers, like they were in research labs and they needed software, and so they created the first version around their own needs. Like, I wish this thing existed for my own case. Yeah. And that's always, you know, that's a great place to start as an entrepreneur. If you're feeling like, I wish this existed, then while most people are complaining about it, you go out and do it. That's what entrepreneurs do.
Provide it to the people who were complaining.
Exactly. Like, solve it for yourself and then go sell the solution, right? It'll ease a lot of people's concerns and save them time, and they're willing to pay for that.
And I can totally vouch for that, because one of my companies that I have is Rhino Tools, and I was a landscaper in high school, and I was breaking like a shovel per week. So I eventually invented this. I consider it the first prototype for this, you know, out of 9 prototypes now, that of the unbreakable shovel. And now that I'm, you know, traveling the United States, you know, getting investors for it and stuff like that. So it's actually a product that's one of my biggest businesses right now, that, you know what I mean, that I'm doing. The YouTube thing is just kind of a side thing. So I can vouch that that's definitely a way that a good product can get started, is you just look for a need in your own life and then create the product to cater to that need.
Yeah, and if you look up to any successful entrepreneur, a lot of times that's where it comes from. They just had this passion to create something for themselves. If you look at my YouTube channel, even, I think I'm most well known for the top 10 videos that we do, the rules of success from famous entrepreneurs. You know, I wanted that for me. That was a selfish endeavor. I wanted to be around more successful people. Like, I don't hang around Steve Jobs and Elon Musk and these people in my day-to-day life. And so I wanted to be pushed harder. You know, the people around me don't push me enough to do what I'm capable of doing. And so I wanted that daily. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go out and just research it. And sitting through, you know, 8 to 10 hours of Elon Musk footage to find the 20 minutes of gold nugget information.
Right.
Was frustrating. But I realized, hey, you know what? Like, if I'm facing this, I bet there's a bunch of other entrepreneurs who might be facing the same thing.
Exactly.
And they just created some videos, and they started taking off, and now it's become something that I'm more known for. But it was never, see, the difference was, it was never, I want to be a big YouTuber. That's where people make a mistake. I want to be a giant in this field. Like, right. I care about what I'm making. I made it for myself. I make it for you guys. I make it for the community. It's not about hitting the 1 million subscribers or 10 million subscribers or whatever it is. If all you're after is that end goal, you're never going to get there, because you're not willing to do the work to get there, because you don't actually love what you're doing.
And I think you could take that same approach, like what you're saying for YouTube, and apply it to any entrepreneur. They always have the goal of making $1 million, or in some cases making $1 billion, or having an IPO, or being, acquired. That's their goal. That's their target that they're going for. But really, they should be looking at the process, you know what I mean? Like, how many people can I help during the journey? You know what I mean? Kind of what you're saying.
And it's not just entrepreneurs, it's anything. Jerry Seinfeld, legendary comedian, calls it the torture you can endure. So it's like, it's torture. Doing the work is torture for most people. If you look at my channel, we're doing 3 videos a day. For a lot of people, jumping into my work schedule would be torture for them. It would be torture. It's like, it's just too much work.
Right.
And that's great. And it's like, I love it though. Like, I chose this life. I love the work I'm doing. I love being here talking to Dick. This is good. This is happy for me. Other people like, oh, I got to talk to Dick. I got to be on a live stream. I'm panicking. I'm freaking out. You put me in that landscaping job. I had a landscaping job. I would die, man. Like, I hated that job. But for other people, it's like, you know what? I love being outside. I love being fit. I love my friends here. Like, it's just, to be successful in anything, you have to enjoy the work that you're doing. And not everything is great. Not every day is roses. You're going to have a lot of crap that you deal with. And the thing that gets you through all the crap is just the love for the process. And so I think it's still important to have goals. It's nice. But more important than the goal is the journey to get there.
Right. Pretty common expression is, do what you love and you won't work a day in your life. And I think that you're a perfect example of that. You know what I mean? I see you every day, and it's hard to keep the enthusiasm that, you do have in all your videos. Everybody has an off day, but it seems like you never do. And I think that, and I'm sure you still do, but when you're in front of the camera, you're doing it for the viewers. You know what I mean? You're putting your selfish, bad day, I guess, aside, and you're focusing on the product. And I think that's awesome. And that's really attractive to me as a viewer, that you're willing to put in the commitment to spit out 3 videos a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I suffocate negativity in my life. It happens, maybe my wife isn't happy in the morning, or maybe someone on my team is pissed off when they started the day or whatever. Right. My natural reaction is one to like try to avoid that situation, right, for that time. And then I just get so excited. I don't know. My default is, if there's negativity in my life, I need to suffocate it, not give it any oxygen, and go the other way. I don't know where that comes from, but it's not hard to get up for. It's not hard to get up for this. Like, I'm talking to Dick. I'm pumped. Let's do it. Even if something crappy happened just before, it doesn't matter. I'm ready to go. When I'm making the videos for the channel, it's the same thing. Like, it's easy to get, it's at least it's easy for me to get all excited about it, because again, it's tied into the work that I do and why the why of what I do. I try to help entrepreneurs. I believe entrepreneurs are going to solve all the major world problems, not corporations, and not banks, and not governments. It's entrepreneurs. And so if my work adds a little bit, 0.5% to make the difference for Dick or whoever to go out and push a little bit harder, that's meaningful to me. And so I try to take that with me when I'm going into filming day.
Absolutely.
And just suffocate. You have to suffocate negativity out to focus.
But Evan, I think that sometimes people's situations just put them in a negative environment. And I think not enough people realize that. Like, if they're in a job that they don't like, they can't suffocate the negativity every day. You know what I mean? If it's something that you're spending more time avoiding the negative things than focusing on the positive, you just need to find a different industry or a different, company to work for, or, you know what I mean? A different venture, because it shouldn't be like that. You know what I mean? Wouldn't you agree with that? That it should be, like the 80-20 rule, 80%, focusing on the good things. You know what I mean? If you have anything more than 20% negative, something's wrong.
Well, I think there's a couple things there. I think if you're going to take a job, you take it to learn. I think a lot of people take a job for the wrong reason, because I need money to go on this trip or something, so I'm going to get a job, or just I need something to do during the day, and I have a mortgage to pay, or whatever it is. You take a job to learn. You want to get here, whatever that looks like for you in whatever field. Go try to learn from somebody who's done it, and you take a job to kind of take the knowledge and get paid to do it. So you're getting paid to go to school, basically. The minute you stop learning at your job is when you need to quit and go off and either start your own business or go learn somewhere else. Like if you want to be a big YouTuber, go work for a YouTuber. If you want to be a banker, go work for a banker. Like so many people are doing unrelated things. They have a path. They want to be here, but they're doing something totally different.
Right.
I think as well, you teach people how to treat you. There are some people who just have low standards for themselves and are just constantly a punching bag. And you will continue to get yelled at and you will continue to get mistreated everywhere you go until you set the boundaries and set the standards for yourself of what you are willing and not willing to accept. And I agree, if you have super negative people around you all the time, you have to make it, it's a tough decision. Like sometimes it's easy. Sometimes it's some high school friend that, you know, you've kind of outgrown them. You have ambitions, you have dreams, you have desires, and they're stuck in the old path. Like, you know what? Like, no hard feelings, just you don't want to hang around them anymore. Sometimes it's harder though. Sometimes it's your mom. Sometimes it's your mom saying, Dick, you can't do a YouTube channel, dude. You can't sell a shovel. What are you talking about? You didn't go to school for this. Like, that's not what our family is about. Go be a landscaper, right? Sometimes that's what happens. And that may not be possible to cut your mom out of your life. Some people will take that dramatic step and do it, but otherwise you may just need to limit your exposure or look at, in my case, like the people around me aren't super negative, but they also weren't pushing me. So that's why I created these videos, because I want to push myself. That's why these people are behind me on the wall. Like I want to push myself to go off and do bigger and better things, bolder things that my environment doesn't support. And so instead of complaining and blaming, just like for anything, for entrepreneurs, we don't complain. There's a lot of crap you have to deal with on a daily basis. You don't complain, you fix it.
Right.
So I'm not complaining about my environment. I'm going to go out and fix it and make it better. And no matter what, you know, for the people listening, no matter what problems they feel they have right now, no matter what lack of resources or lack of support or any of the things, that the reasons you're telling yourself you can't be successful, if you look in the mirror and say, I'm not successful because of like what's coming back at you, there are people with way fewer resources, with way less supportive upbringing, who went off and did way more amazing things that you're currently doing right now. And so if they could do it.
To segue off of that, I want to send anybody who's watching this to look at, I'll put a link in the description after this, of Evan's video on a guy named Milton Hershey. He was the founder of Hershey's Chocolate. Nice. And you want to talk about family that's suppressing your dreams. That guy literally was like exiled from his family. I don't know if you saw that in your findings when you were weeding through his information, but
yeah, man,
that guy, commitment. And he is also one of my biggest inspirations as far as persistence goes, because not only was he being suppressed family wise, his businesses failed like for years, and he didn't make it big till, you can correct me, what was it, like he was like over 50, wasn't he?
I don't know, but you're putting me on the spot. I like it though. I like the challenge. It's been a long time since. What year is that video, Dick?
Ooh, gosh,
that's like 4 years old. That video.
Yeah, I think you came out. That was like one of your early ones. Yeah,
I've done like 4,000 videos since that video.
I know.
But let's see how much I remember.
Come on, you don't memorize all your content?
Come on, Dick. I think we should play a challenge game with Dick and go back on his content and see what he remembers.
Ooh.
Okay, so he started in the caramel business and failed and moved from city to city to city. I forget where. Like he went to Chicago, he went to New York. His big fail was in New York, and he'd be up like all day long. He would stay up all night making caramels and then sell them during the day, and sleep like 4 to 6 hours a night, kind of thing.
Right.
Never really made any money. And in New York, he went and he got robbed. He had his little street cart and he got robbed, and they took all his stuff, and he had to come home. And his parents said, "You're not allowed here anymore. You're not part of this family." So he came home. He had nothing, and his parents didn't allow him to come in. And it's also at a time where being an entrepreneur was a lot more against the grain than it is now, where it's more accepted. So he ended up sleeping on the couch of one of his first team members. Like one of the first guy he hired, he slept on his couch for a while. He's the only guy who would take him in. What was his name? Henry something. I'm pissed I don't remember the guy's name. Then he got into the chocolate business, and that's when things started to take off.
Right.
And he started the Hershey chocolate business. So like, and a lot of times your values come from your struggles. And so like these big struggles that people face end up you have a choice. When you have these struggles, you either face them and you grow and you build the muscles, or you succumb to them.
Right.
And then you never go off and do anything big. And talking about shovels, during the Depression, he went off and he wanted to create jobs for people because he didn't like that people didn't have jobs. So he created Hersheyville in Pennsylvania, and he was building schools, and he built his own, like, talk about an ambitious entrepreneur. Like, he built his own town.
Yeah, he did.
Like, yep. I want to see the Dick Town, man. Like, where's that going to be, man? I'm excited for that.
Well,
and some guy
who would live there wouldn't be very nice, but
why not, man? We have high standards for people who get in.
Oh, okay.
And some guy came to him and said, "Hey, I have this invention for a new shovel that'll save the work of 30 people." And he said, "Forget the shovel. Let's keep the 30 people." Because he valued the job. The whole point of this with the jobs more than the efficiency.
Feeding mouths, right?
100%. So he built schools, and he built, just tons of public works in this town to help them get off their feet. And so I'm a huge Hershey is not well known. He's not celebrated enough.
Right.
I could put up a picture of him, and people wouldn't know what he looks like.
Right. Right.
It's like the guy on the far behind me. AP Giannini, founder of Bank of America. He kind of actually looks like, he's pretty close. Looks like Hershey, but most people don't know his story either.
Right.
And so I think it's actually really important that you find your heroes, whether they're celebrated people like you look up to a Steve Jobs or a Kanye or whoever it is that's kind of maybe well known, but
Evan
also
Carmichael.
Sure, right, but also finding the stories that just really mean something to you, even if nobody else. Like, we could geek out about Milton Hershey all day long, and people are like, what are these guys talking about?
Right.
But like, it means something to you, and having those models I found really, really helped me, especially as a young entrepreneur, have people to look up to and say, okay, these guys did it with nothing and failed. Like, Hershey failed 8 times in multiple cities. It got this owned by his family, totally bankrupt. And like, what am I complaining about? Like, what's the problem I'm facing now? It's like nowhere even close. And so it helps put things in perspective.
Absolutely. So let's go back to talking about when you were in the BioTec software. So what size was it at when you took over, and what did you bring it to by the time you guys were acquired when you were 22? That
is an interesting question. I don't even know that I know the answer anymore. I mean, at the start, it wasn't anything. At the start, we had a couple customers and some universities. But it wasn't making money. Like, I was getting $300 a month. So I owned I owned 30% of the business. My 2 partners owned the other 70% of the business. So they owned 35 each. I owned 30. I came in later, right to the point of if you join in later, maybe you don't get as much. So you could back that number out. I'm making $300 a month. Like, that's how much. My partners are making a little bit more.
Was that when you were?
When I started, right? Like, I made almost nothing. We weren't selling.
And once you joined, what did you grow it to by time you guys were done? What were you making per month at that point?
I don't know from a like how much I was earning. Most of the money we made went back into the business to help it grow.
Right.
And that happens in a high growth company. You're fueling the growth. If you're taking too much money off you had to eat.
Well, you're investing in it. Yeah.
Sure. And I mean, in the early days, we would celebrate by going to McDonald's every time we got like a win. We would go to McDonald's and just get French fries because I couldn't afford a Big Mac meal or anything. It was just fries. Mm-hmm. So even now, as I'm healthier now, and like McDonald's is gross, but even just the smell of French fries. What's that?
You were grinding it out.
Yeah, the smell of French fries, McDonald's French fries right now still equals like victory to me, because we would celebrate. So when I finished my book and when it went into bookstores, I went to McDonald's for the first time in years.
Really?
With my wife, and I ordered like, hey, I can afford a Big Mac meal now, guys.
That's funny.
Not just the fries anymore. So, I mean, I don't know what I was taking out. I was living. I wasn't living large, though. I wasn't like going off and booking private jets or anything, but I was living. And I was pissed because I lost a $40 million deal for my business. because I took too long to take action.
You mean like another company was going to acquire you for that price, or what?
Yeah, so there was another company that was looking to acquire businesses, and we just weren't focused on them. We're focused on a different company. So we looked at, okay, who's going to buy our company? We had a window. So we're growing, you know, we got into 30 countries. We had NASA as a customer and Johnson & Johnson, like big brand name customers. Right. And so we have this traction going, and we're starting to get interest. And we thought, who's going to buy us? Like in our space, the companies and industries go in these cycles where like every 8 to 10 years you have consolidation and everybody gets bought up, and then you have a couple big players, and then it starts to go for another cycle of, okay, those big players are boring and new people come in, and then it gets crazy.
Expansion
and then consolidation, and then, right? And so we had this decision, okay, it's consolidation time happened in our industry. Do we want to exit, or do we want to wait a decade for like the next round to happen?
Right.
And so we were looking at options. We just picked the wrong company. The company that we thought would buy us was the biggest company in the industry. They had the most money. They had, you know, huge
and which
funds.
Which company was that?
That was a company called Sigma Genesis. They were the #1 player in the business, selling to our researchers. And what we learned, and again, like just ignorance, we didn't know. It's almost never the #1 person who wants to make the aggressive moves.
Right, because they're comfortable where they're at.
They're #1.
Yep.
We're #1 for a reason, because we rock. And so they're more closed down to new ideas. They're not acquiring as much. Some, like Facebook, led by Mark Zuckerberg, visionary, like he's off making huge bets. But for corporate, you know, the #1 guy is not usually the one making the huge acquisitions. And I didn't think about that. I didn't know. Nobody told me that. I didn't have the mentoring. And so it ended up being the #4 guy. Was a company that raised a lot of money, and they were trying to get aggressive. And we ended up being the last. We were late to that discussion, and they ended up buying our biggest competitor for $40 million. And if we had been prepared,
that could have been you.
Yeah, and like we still got to last 2 in that whole discussion.
Right.
What's the name of the company? What was that company? You're like testing my knowledge back there.
Good.
What was that company called? Informax, our competitor. They were a public company. Yeah, and so they got bought out, and we were a late, like last minute addition to that conversation, because we had all our focus on that other company.
Right.
And they didn't really care too much about us. Like a couple phone calls, you know, but they didn't really
Evan,
care.
what can entrepreneurs do who are maybe at that stage where they're looking at being acquired? What can they do to avoid that mistake, or to capitalize on being acquired by that $40 million price tag?
Yeah, so look for the companies that are raising money and that are aggressive. So the company was called Invitrogen. I don't know how much your viewers care, but they raised like $800 million or something. They raised some insane amount of funding because they wanted to be #1. They were #4, and they wanted to climb to #1.
Right.
And you can either grow organically or you go through acquisition. And they're like, we are raising a fund. We're going to go on a buying spree, and we're going to buy not just software companies. We're going to buy lots of different companies and find a way to merge them all together.
So the biggest takeaway is for looking for the companies that are continuing to raise money. They're at the top, you know, they're one of the top dogs, but they're acting like a startup, and in the fact that they're taking risks, they're raising money. Am I right on that?
Look for somebody who's raised a fund recently, because if they've raised money but they've spent it all, they don't have anything for you.
True.
So they've just recently raised a fund, and they're really aggressive in not your exact industry, but like in a related industry. So there's synergies. Like I can't sell a BioTec software company to Ford Motors or Tesla or something, right? Like it's just connection.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
But it's also where people make a mistake. It's not usually your biggest competitor who buys you out. It's not the guy in your industry who's going to buy you. It's somebody who sees synergies in a related industry.
Right.
So they want to expand their base, and they want to move into your business. And basically the decision is they look at you and they say, okay, how long would it take us to build this? and how much is that time worth? So it's like, okay, it might take us 6 months to build it, and then they have all these customers. How much is that worth to us?
Right.
And then
So
you get bought.
What is the biggest thing that you did when you joined the company at 19 to grow it to the size that it was that you were looking, or that people wanted to acquire you when you were 22?
So it was modeling success. I was failing. I told my partner I quit. So when I was 19 and we were struggling and making no money. And
well, I know that you modeled after Bill Gates, actually.
Yeah.
I know a lot of guys have seen you talk about that, but like, what's one specific strategy? Like, Bill Gates did this. This is what I did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
An exact example.
Sure. So I modeled Bill Gates. Bill Gates started Microsoft through partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
So Microsoft's big deal came when they signed IBM, that every IBM computer had Microsoft software. IBM was the big company at the time. But Microsoft was already a $7 million company at that point.
Right.
Which is not ginormous compared to now, but it's also not nothing. It was $7 million more than what I had.
Right.
So how did it get started? Like 0 to 1, like what helped that process happen? And it was still through partnerships. It's like, okay, partnerships. Who can I partner with that can help me reach my audience? And within a couple of weeks, I had my first deal with a company in Europe to represent our software. And I had them sign an agreement where they would give us $13,500 upfront for the right to represent us in these markets. And I was scared. Like, here I am. I'm making $300 a month, and I'm asking for $13,500 like upfront from this startup company in Canada. And they said yes. And so, like, I just made $13,500.
Right. Yeah.
Like that may not sound like a lot, but to me, man, in those days,
that was a fortune.
That was huge, man. That was French fry season, dude. That was the start. That was awesome. And more importantly than just selling that one deal is I could do that again. Like, that was just one company I made a partnership with.
So were they like a sales force and they were selling your product? Were they like affiliates, or were they like people that were like referring their customer base to you? Like, what were they?
So they were distributors of scientific products.
Sure.
So we were selling to the science community. They were selling other stuff to the science community. They had some software. Some of them. So that first one, I don't think sold any software. It might be their first software deal. But as I made more deals, that became like most of what I started doing at the beginning. Is then just once I found like,
so your main strategy wasn't selling directly to the consumer. You guys were selling to distributors who got to your target. Is that right?
It was distributors and awareness and media. Mostly because for a lot of the customer work, it's not my strength.
Mm-hmm.
I could only talk about the business stuff, not about all the product stuff.
Right.
And my partners, they wanted to code and not be. So like, what are you good at? And go in on that. So I made deals with all these different companies around the world who are selling scientific products. And we also help funnel leads to them. Like, hey, if we got a download from Japan, it would go to our Japanese person.
Yep.
One, because like I don't speak Japanese and I can't help that person out. Time zone, culture, like all that stuff. And they took a commission, and they also brought in their own clients based on what they were selling locally. And they were selling related products and all the things that you need for a science lab. Like, software was only a small piece of their game.
Right.
So it's just basically finding that thought process is, okay, who is selling to my target audience? We're trying to reach scientists. Who else is selling to scientists? They don't sell exactly what I sell, and they can add my thing as a complementary product
to their own products. So
exactly.
What is one tip for our viewers that they can copy that process? Let's say that I have found, let's use my shovel company for an example. I have found a hardware company that's, a hardware store, I mean, they're the ones that are selling directly to the consumer. How would someone, a viewer like me, get my product to those distributors, to those sales forces that are already selling same industry to the same consumer products? How do you start that conversation with those companies?
So I would do two things. I would look at, you have the big box guys, you got Home Depot and those guys, which, you want to get into. And for Home Depot, a lot of the big retailers, they have days where you pitch them products. You know, they'll usually like rent out a hotel room, and you're gonna be with the buyer for tools.
Right,
and,
right.
And that's his job, is for the 3 days he sits down and looks at all the new tools that have been submitted, and you're there and everybody else is there, and you have 15
so did
minutes.
you go to those events when you were doing the software thing?
It's different because it's not big box. It's different. It's not how they make decisions. But I've done that for other companies. Like we had in my salsa company, we had a DVD that we were selling. So to get on the shopping channel, it's the same thing. Okay, shopping channel, this DVD falls under fitness and health. Great, you're with the fitness and health buyer. We're at this hotel. You know, we go and pitch the program, and you're up against all the other fitness and health people. And the more you can prove like a business case for it, and this makes sense for your audience, you've done the research, you have a higher chance of getting a yes. And it worked. And we got in, we went on the shopping channel. So with big box, you're dealing with through buyers. But I'd also be looking at influencers. You know, who are the YouTubers, who are the Instagrammers who care about tools? Like, I'm assuming your shovel is awesome. Like, it works. It's great.
It's the best, Evan.
You know, like it massages my hands while I'm doing it. You know, like it increases my IQ, you know, whatever. You know, like your product, you know, for anybody listening, this is all assuming your product is good and works. And it can't just be a little bit better than what's out there. It has to be way better than what's out there.
Right.
In something, in one thing. Like maybe this shovel is just the most comfortable shovel ever. Maybe it doesn't lift the most dirt or isn't the most rugged, but it's the most comfortable. So if you have sensitive hands, this is the, you know, whatever it is. Like our software didn't have the most features, but it was the easiest to use and created the nicest graphs. So when scientists had to prepare their reports, here was a nice visual for them, and it was easy to use.
So the niche that you guys were going after for your product was simplicity. Is you wanted it easy to use for consumers and just simple, beautiful results of the graphs of the information that they're putting in.
Yeah, simplicity and design. Because a lot of the scientists were not actually great. Like they're not programmers. They're not technical geniuses. They're great at their specific science. And so we captured that market. And so your shovel has to be really amazing at something. Not everything, but something.
Right.
That's, you know, it's for 7 foot tall people. Like that's your market or whatever it is. It's got to have something that's just way better at. And then go find influencers who really care about that. So if you had something that was for entrepreneurs and was really, really helpful for entrepreneurs, you want to come and talk to me. Like people pitch me stuff all the time. If I use it and I like it, I'll talk about it. I'll share it. And that helps gain traction and leverage for that company. And so I'll be reaching out to those influencers who care a lot about shovels and tools and gear and are reviewing stuff, vloggers who are in construction, you know, whatever those people are watching. You're always looking.
Them, get them to represent the product and reach.
Hey, I want to send you a free shovel. This is going to change your life. And again, you have to do your targeting to find the right person, because you don't want to send that shovel to me because I never shovel. But pick the 100 people that, like, if they talk about you, is going to make a difference. And you want to send them a free shovel. Not even asking for like, hey, if I send you this shovel, can you promote this on your channel? Like, they'll do it if they like it. So that's where your thing has to actually work and be good for that person that you're talking to. And then I'd also look at who are who's trying to beat Home Depot. Because the influencers and the guys who are trying to beat Home Depot are the ones who are more eager to try out new stuff. Just like don't sell to
get an edge on the existing #1 guy.
Right. So like who else? Like who are the independent guys, or who's trying to build this new network or an online thing? Like who really wants to dethrone Home Depot? And they see your shovel as one of the key assets that they can build their thing off of. Maybe they just buy your company. Like maybe they don't even want to rep you. They just say, how much to buy your entire business?
Right.
Because they're aggressively trying to grow. Right. I'd be looking at who is raising capital in that field too. Like what construction or tool startups are out there that have raised funds from venture capital or angel investors, and seen if there's any kind of synergies with what you might be able to do. And so it's like, it's all paths, you know, any one of those could explode your business up, and then seeing where you can get some traction with it.
Awesome. Well, let's run through a quick a speed round of some questions here. Is that cool with you?
Let's do it.
All right. What question should I be asking you right now?
The one that you are afraid to ask, Dick.
I'm not afraid to ask you anything, Evan.
Like for that, I'm happy to go anywhere, right? Like some of them, I mean, you're pulling me back to 20 years ago where I gotta like remember things, which is fun. But I'm happy to answer any question. What I love, and I love all your questions today. What I love is answering the real questions. Because I often go on channels and they ask me questions and it's like the same 10 questions over and over and over again.
Right.
And I'm happy to answer those, but like
that was my goal today, Evan. That was my goal.
Different questions?
Yes.
Well, you did it. I like it, man.
Awesome. So, okay. So there's no question that you think, gosh, how come I've had dozens of interviews and nobody's ever asked me this? Why? There's no question that's ever come to mind like that?
I don't know. I don't judge enough, I guess. I don't know. I don't care. I want to go wherever you want to go, man.
All right. Well, that's something that you can think about for a later date, but let's go to the next one. If you could interview anyone in the world in person, who would it be? I
only have two. There's only two. I don't care about interviewing people. Although we do it a lot on the channel. It's just I don't get excited about interviewing anybody. The two that I want to interview though, who are alive, Howard Schultz and Kanye West. Howard Schultz and they're both on the wall behind me.
Yep.
Actually, they're
Starbucks.
They're the only two living people beside my parents that are on the wall behind me. Steve Jobs is dead and AP Giannini are dead. So I'll add them if we can include dead people. But yeah, Howard Schultz is the founder of Starbucks. Mm-hmm. I just love that guy and everything he stands for. And Kanye West, more for I feel he gets screwed over in a lot of interviews. I feel like he doesn't get a lot of great questions in most of his interviews. So I think that would be a fun challenge to come up with good questions and have a good conversation.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
So branching off of that, who is one deceased person throughout any of history from the beginning of time that you could interview?
I would go with Giannini, AP Giannini, founder of Bank of America, my favorite entrepreneur. Steve Jobs is another great one, but there's a lot of content. I know, a lot more, been able to consume a lot more of his stuff, but AP Giannini, there's like no interviews of. So
Alexander the Great, none of those guys. No.
Those are all great, but AP Giannini is my favorite entrepreneur of all time. So
that's awesome.
I gotta go with him.
And what is one question? If you could only ask him one question, what would you ask him?
Why?
Why he did?
Why?
It?
Yeah. Why? Like, why did you do this? Why?
Okay. So now I'm going to ask you that question, Evan. Why?
Yeah. I believe entrepreneurs will solve all the problems of the world. Awesome. And if I can have a little bit of that, then that makes me feel happy.
Okay, next one.
I like that. I like that line. Dick, man, you're pulling out some good stuff today, dude.
Thank you. I
like it. There's a lot of effort went into this recording here. I like it.
Yeah, I didn't just wing it, but which I do most of my stuff though, winged. But if you could advise someone like me to get a hold of someone like you, to whether it's business plan advice, investing in something, collaborating, how would you go about doing that? Like, what's the best way that the people that get a hold of you and that you actually take action with them, whether it's investing in them, giving them advice, what do you see them doing that everybody else isn't?
Well, what did you do to get this?
I actually just try to comment in every video you put out, and I try to give a quality comment so that it's not just another trying to get 10 likes, you know what I mean, blowing the wind here. But I try to give something that is going to build on whatever you were talking about in your video. And I had done that so often that your assistant had noticed that, because I was getting actually on a lot of your videos, my comments are the ones that are highlighted at the top, because they're actually adding value to it. So, and then your assistant and I worked it out. So,
well, there you go. Like, that's an answer, right? I think providing value, helping out. I think being a known quantity helps. Like, you don't have to be you could just be starting up your YouTube channel, but because you comment, there are people who I know whose names and faces I recognize because they share my stuff. They're engaged in my live hangouts. They're retweeting, all that stuff. And so I know them. Like, I never met them, but I recognize their name. And if they ask for something, then it'd be easier for me to say yes That's why you got a yes, where other people may not get a yes.
Right.
So be a known quantity and add value. And I think as well, the mission is important. Like if you're on a similar mission as me, you want to help entrepreneurs, and it comes in different facets. Like just before this, I was on a podcast to help, you know, teenage entrepreneurs, but it's like we're on the same mission. So that hits a soft spot. So it's not just about, well, how many subscribers do you have and what kind of impact is it going to have? Like I care about the mission and helping people who are on the same mission that I'm on. And so those two things, I think you'll get your best collaborations with the people who you already follow. Like don't follow me because it's a strategy, because you're hoping to get on my show or do some kind of connection. If you're following me because you like my content.
And I am a great example because I have been watching your videos for years, like before I even got into being a YouTuber myself, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it just naturally, I would just comment and then it started to build naturally. And I thought, I honestly watch like every video, you know what I mean? So then I think, oh, how can I build on that? You know what I mean? So it's not that I'm going to the video, pausing it at 2 seconds and then adding the comment. So you're absolutely right. I think that's part of the reason that it worked out, is because we're on the same frequency of, you know, I'm interested in your stuff. You know what I mean? It's honest. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Look, so like I have a better shot of connecting with Howard or Kanye because I like them. I want to learn from them. I want to be around them. I want to, you know, take some knowledge from them than I do from, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger or whoever other big name that you want to throw out there. And so I would encourage people. Oftentimes we think people are above our reach.
Right.
Like, that person will never say yes. They're too high up. They've done too much. I'm just a little guy. I can never, what gives me the right to reach out to that person? If you don't take the shot, you don't know.
Right. And then here's this last one. It's a little bit controversial.
Ooh, okay. I like it.
Based on what you have said in other interviews.
Okay.
I know that one of your biggest things is people ask you, what holds entrepreneurs back? What holds anybody back from following their dreams, starting a business, etc.? And one of your answers is, you know, like limiting beliefs. And one of those limiting beliefs that you say is people think that it's already been done. They think that it's too simple. It's already in great quantities. You know what I mean? Like, what would I do that would be different? Right. Mm-hmm. And am I correct on that? That's one of your.
Yeah. Dick's doing his research. I like it.
So now here, I'm just going to read a little thing that I wrote down, because I live in Sauk Center, Minnesota, which is like middle of nowhere, population 4,000. You know what I mean? So from the naked eye, it appears as though there's not much opportunity. So I want to get your look on this. Lots of entrepreneurs look around and they have a hard time seeing a need to fill. McDonald's is already feeding people. There's an abundance of vacant real estate, so there's nothing that needs building. And almost every imaginable online store is already in place, dominating the market. Where would you look to find opportunity when there seems to be none?
At your own problems. What are you struggling with? What do you wish existed? Like, I didn't invent YouTube. I'm not the first guy to be on YouTube. I joined late to the party compared to other guys who now even have smaller channels than me. I made videos that I felt needed to be made, and selfishly for myself. There is always room for quality. You know, if you're just looking for an opportunity, you're probably not going to succeed because you're not super passionate about it. But if you are on a journey and you're solving a problem that you feel is real, like, it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter if you're from some small town. Like, most of my audience is American. I'm based in Toronto, Canada. I don't do much in my local city. I love my city, but the opportunity didn't come from my city. The opportunity came from the world. And so if you're creating content or you're making a product, you know, that doesn't exist because you feel it needs to exist, that's where you're going to find your success. So you flip it back on yourself. Like, okay, Dick, like, what's a problem in your life? What do you wish was out there that is not out there? And then instead of complaining about it, go out and make it.
Right.
Like, okay, interviews. Maybe you're pissed off that everybody asks the same questions on the same channels, and it's annoying to watch the same interviews every single time with all these people. Great. You go out and you did your research and you watch my old interviews and you're a fan of the channel and you ask questions that I've never been asked before. And I didn't maybe remember all the answers, but like you asked some different questions and maybe that's something that upsets you. I think there's a big need for good interviewers. As someone who reviews content from interviews all day long, that's what I mash up together. Most interviewers suck. Most interviewers have this list of like 10 questions that they need to ask.
That they ask everybody.
They ask everybody, and then they ask Elon Musk this question, and he gives this answer, and you're waiting for the follow-up to go deeper, and then they just, oh, okay, number 2, let's go. Here's this question, right? Where a lot of the best interviewers, if you look at like Larry King and Oprah Winfrey, and like people who really get good stuff out of their guests, they may have a list of 10 questions they want to ask, but they only ask one from their list. And then they go down this rabbit hole and they learn so much out of genuine curiosity, right? Who's doing that? It's like nobody has a fantastic channel interviewing people, asking offbeat, different, genuine questions that aren't just what everybody else is asking. I've been interviewed by tons of channels and I get the same questions all the time. Maybe that's your frustration. You know, maybe that's, if you did that, I'd have more content to work with and promote and expose. Hey, I got lots of different answers. But so you've got to combine that with what you're passionate about. Like maybe you don't like interviewing people, or maybe it's just a hobby. But if that was something that you love doing, like this, you hate how people interview people, and you love the chance to go and like make it better and do the research and give a quality interview, then that's the thing that you get known for and you build and create. And that's insane value because you're asking questions that have never been asked of people that you look up to, and hopefully you'll get good responses of. So like it's been done before. Okay, how many people are out there interviewing? It's been like decades and decades of people interviewing people. And you may say, okay, well, there's already Oprah and Larry King, but they're not doing YouTube. Like they're retiring, man. They're not there anymore. So who's gonna be the new wave and bring this to YouTube and Snapchat and like the next platform? It's not going to be Larry King. So maybe it's you. Like find your opportunity from the problems and frustrations that you're feeling yourself.
I like it. So let's go into a rabbit hole off that. What is a question that your favorite question that you have been asked that is not one of the typical questions?
I don't know, man. I don't have a specific one. I like the challenging one. I like any question that starts with, this is a little different, or this might be controversial, or this might be a complex one to answer. I love it. As soon as the host asks me that, I'm like, oh man, yes.
Let's do this.
What do we got? Yeah, like I lean in on that stuff. Look, in the green room before we started, like, hey, whatever you want to ask me, let's go, let's do it. I have to encourage the interviewer to go off script because usually they won't. And give them permission to say like, hey, whatever you want to ask, bring it. You're afraid? I embrace that. I want to do it. So there's no one, again, I don't care what the question is, but I like being able to answer different ones.
Awesome. So if you were 20 years old in 2017, what industry would you go into?
What I'm doing.
I mean, specifically YouTube, blogging, helping entrepreneurs. I mean, like, what's a niche that you would go into?
Helping entrepreneurs. I don't care about YouTube. Like, I love YouTube, but I'm not attached to YouTube. If YouTube went away and Snapchat's a thing, okay.
You'd still be there, right?
Yeah, like I want to help entrepreneurs. However that happens, in 10 years, it's going to be in virtual reality, and I'm going to have the virtual reality channel helping entrepreneurs. And, however far in the future, whatever the world looks like, that's where I'm going to be. I want to help entrepreneurs. I want to make an impact helping entrepreneurs. So
for the entrepreneurs that want to go into an industry that's besides helping their peers, like what's like a product or a service or a market or a consumer that they can serve? Like if you had to pick a category on the stock market, like a fund to invest in that, because you think it's going to explode in the next 5-10 years, where would you be putting your money, Evan?
I would. So if I'm an entrepreneur, you got to do the thing that you love to do. The worst thing you can do is listen to me to tell you to go into this industry. The worst thing to do is open up Inc. magazine of like the hottest 100 companies and say, oh, I'm going to go do that one. Because you're going to suck. Because one of them's going to be YouTube, right? Great. I'm going to start a YouTube channel because it's one of the hottest things to do in 2017. Perfect. You're going to get crushed.
Right.
You're going to get crushed by me. You're going to get crushed by Dick. You're going to get crushed by all the people who actually take this seriously and care passionately about it. And that's why a lot of entrepreneurs fail, is because they start a business just looking for an opportunity. So I think the best investment you can make is on yourself. And the best industry to get into is the one that you care deeply and passionately about. There's money that you can make in any industry. There's always room for quality at the top. And the people who give the quality are the ones who care. You spend a ton of time researching. If you did this for every interview that you did, and you start pulling sweaters and like getting to the front of the line and interviewing bigger and bigger people, your thing will take off. But to put in the work to review everybody's videos and understand all their questions and remember their answers, and
most people aren't willing to do that.
They're not going to do it.
Right.
But you do it because you love it. So that's the thing. You got to follow that path, even if it doesn't make sense. Because a guy like you could say, oh, YouTube's been done. You know, there's tons of YouTube channels. I'm just starting off and I have X number of subscribers. Like, how am I going to ever get there? If that's your mindset, you've lost already. There's always room for quality at the top of any industry. You've got to have the passion and stick to it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Evan. And I want to promote your book because, man, I'm only about halfway through, and I already think it's one of the best books I've ever read. Your one word is believe, and I want to let you know, Evan, my one word, and it's growth, because I always want to be growing in health, wealth, love, happiness, you know, relationships, knowledge, you name it. I want to be growing, and that's why one of my main companies is Online Growth Systems, because I think that I never want to stop growing. So you inspired me to choose my one word, and that's what it is. Make sure you guys pick up that copy. I'll put a link in the description below to Evan's book. And Evan, to wrap up our interview, I have another sandwiching question.
Okay.
Team Iron Man or Team Captain America?
That's a good question. I don't know the story. What's this, who are the rebellious ones? I've watched the videos.
Okay, so
Captain America is like with the government, right? And oh no, it's the other way.
Captain America is around in this one. He wants to keep protecting the world, going outside of what the rules of the United Nations are trying to hold them back. You know what I mean? Regulating them. He said we should save the world because it's the right thing to do. Iron Man said, hey, when we try to save the world, millions of people are dying. Or they're dying, Evan. Who are you going to side with?
I side with the anti-government, whoever that is. That's Captain America.
All right. I like it. Says the Canadian. You're not
We're the entrepreneurs. We're going to solve all the problems, not the government.
Well, Tony Stark is the entrepreneur. Now you're going against your grain here. Iron Man's the entrepreneur.
I like that.
Ooh,
it feels like Captain America should be with the government, though. I don't know. I don't know enough of the history. I feel like I'm getting myself in hot water, talking about things I don't know what I'm talking about. But
I'm just using this as clickbait, Evan. Everybody's going to be getting
really. Evan chooses Captain America.
Yep, that's what the title's going to be.
Are there any Canadians on any of the sides here?
I'm not sure. I don't have the comments open or anything, but
no. I mean on any of the teams, because they have all the mutants under them, right?
Oh, you mean are any of the superheroes Canadian?
Right, exactly.
Evan, this is an American franchise. That would be like a sin.
It has to be like a Captain Canada. You know what? Captain Canada is off actually saving the world while they're just fighting. So I'm siding with Captain Canada.
Captain Canada. All right. Thanks, Evan, for coming on the show. It was great to hear from you. Like, for you to interview Howard Schultz is like what this is for me interviewing you. So I want to say thanks for the opportunity. So
cool, man. You did a great job. Good work.
Awesome. Thanks, Evan. Talk to you later.